In the dead silence of the night, your worst fears may not be as invisible as you think. So began the chilling tale of one man's encounter with unseen entities in his newly acquired Victorian-era house. A house that was more of a relic, standing like a silent reminder of a bygone era, whispering secrets of the past in the hollowed silence of the night. Imagine being in a house that's more than just four walls and a roof, a house that's a living, breathing entity with its own stories to tell. Our man was drawn to the house not by its grandeur but by the inexplicable feeling of familiarity, of belonging. Little did he know, he was stepping into a world where the line between the living and the unseen was as thin as a wisp of smoke. The real story began when things started to move. Objects that he'd placed in certain spots would inexplicably find their way to other parts of the house. A misplaced cup here, a displaced book there. It was subtle, but noticeable. The eerie sensation that he was not alone started to creep in. Then came the whispers. Soft, barely audible, like a breath of wind passing through the corridors. He would strain his ears, trying to decipher the words, but they would always fade away, leaving behind a cold shiver running down his spine. The feeling of being watched was the most unsettling. The sensation that eyes were on him, following his every move, scrutinizing his every action. The house was not just a house anymore, it was a host to something unseen, something that was watching, waiting. It was not malicious, not threatening, but it was there, a presence that could not be ignored. In the grand scheme of things, the man was just a guest, a temporary occupant in a house that had seen centuries pass by. The unseen entities were the real inhabitants, the silent keepers of the house, the ones who had seen the rise and fall of many like him. That night he was not alone. The unseen was watching, waiting. And that's the reality of the unseen fear, the fear that lingers in the shadows, the fear that's always there, even when you can't see it. When the moon is the only witness, even the most ordinary things can turn into your worst nightmare. Picture this. A woman, let's call her Jane. Jane has a routine. Every night after her shift at the local diner ends, she walks home, the same path, at the same time. It's a quiet, uneventful journey, or so it seemed. For a while, Jane enjoyed the tranquility of her late-night walks. The peaceful silence, the occasional rustle of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl. But then, something changed. The quiet nights started to feel less tranquil and more sinister. Jane began to sense an eerie presence. It started subtly, like an odd shiver down her spine. Then, she started feeling watched. She would turn around and see nothing but the empty street bathed in the eerie glow of the streetlights. But the feeling persisted, a constant prickling at the back of her neck, an unshakable sense of being followed. Then came the sounds. The faintest echo of footsteps behind her, too light to be human, yet too rhythmic to be just the wind. A sudden rustle from the shadows as if something was moving just out of sight. The sounds were inconsistent, elusive, but they were there. Each night as Jane walked home, her heart would pound harder, her steps would quicken. She wanted to run, but fear rooted her to the spot. She felt trapped in her own routine, a prisoner in her own fear. Yet she saw nothing, no one. It was as if the night itself was stalking her. Jane was never alone on those walks home. There was always something or perhaps someone lurking in the shadows. A silent stalker, unseen, unheard, but always felt. A presence that turned her nightly walk into a journey of terror. The moon bore silent witness to her fear, casting long, monstrous shadows that seemed to leap out at her from every corner. But the moon also held the secret of the silent stalker, the secret that Jane was yet to uncover. She was never alone on those streets. The silent stalker was always there. In the quiet corners of your mind, a melody can turn into a haunting echo. Have you ever considered how a simple tune can twine itself into the fabric of our reality, becoming more than just a sequence of notes? Imagine being a musician, an artist whose very existence thrives on the delicate ebb and flow of sound. You find comfort in the harmonies that you craft, each note a testament to your talent. But what happens when a melody, seemingly innocent, starts to creep into your consciousness, uninvited and relentless? This is the chilling tale of one such musician who began to hear a haunting melody, a tune so eerie that it sent shivers down his spine. A melody that seemed to echo from the shadows, a tune that no one else could hear but him. It was a song, an orchestration that seemed to pulsate with an ancient rhythm, a tune that seemed almost alive. The melody led him on a journey, a quest into the past. It guided him to an old forgotten ancestral home, a place where the air seemed to hum with the same haunting tune. As he ventured deeper into the house, the melody grew louder, more insistent. It was as if the very walls were singing, their voices echoing through the centuries, their stories woven into the music. The musician discovered a tragic tale tied to his lineage, a story of love lost and a curse that echoed through time. It was a sorrowful symphony of a heartbroken ancestor whose pain had somehow translated into this haunting melody. This spectral song was not just a random sequence of notes, it was a memory, a call from the past. The musician, armed with the knowledge of his ancestry and the tragic tale that had birthed this melody, found a new understanding of his music. The haunting melody was no longer a source of fear, but a connection to his past, a reminder of the power of music to transcend time and communicate emotions that words often fail to capture. The melody was not just a tune, it was a call from the past, a haunting memory. Sometimes the things you possess might end up possessing you. Our tale begins with a simple man with a not-so-simple hobby, antique collecting. This man, let's call him John, had a particular fascination for items steeped in history and mystery. One day, he stumbled upon an artifact that was unlike any other he had ever found. It was an intricately carved statuette, said to be centuries old. John was drawn to the statuette not just for its age, but for the eerie aura it radiated. Unbeknownst to him, this artifact was not just a mere relic of the past, but a cursed object that harbored a dark secret. John, in his oblivion, welcomed this cursed artifact into his home, his life, and soon enough, the strange incidents began. Unusual sounds echoed around his house at night. His once peaceful dreams were now filled with nightmarish visions. As days turned into weeks, the incidents grew more frequent, and his sanity began to fray at the edges. His once treasured artifact now seemed like a malevolent entity, driving him further into the abyss of madness. John sought answers, desperate to break free from this unending torment. He delved into the history of the artifact only to discover a chilling truth. It was said to be cursed by a vengeful spirit bound forever to the statuette. This spirit was said to possess the owner, driving them to insanity and eventually, their demise. In the end, John was not just an antique collector who had acquired a cursed artifact. He was a man ensnared by his own curiosity, a victim of his own fascination for the unknown. This chilling tale serves as a stark reminder of the perils of delving too deep into the mysteries of the past. The artifact wasn't just an object, it was a curse he chose to bring home. Fear, they say, is only as deep as the mind allows. This truth has woven itself through the chilling tales we've embarked on today, each one a testament to the power of the unknown. Let's take a moment to step back into the shadows we've traversed. We began with the unseen fear, the terror that lurks just beyond our sight. It's the chill that slides down your spine when you're alone in the dark, the prickling sensation that you're being watched. It's the fear that doesn't need a face, a name, or a form. It's a fear that thrives in the corners of our imagination, growing with every unexplained sound, every flash of movement in the periphery of our vision. Then we moved on to the silent stalker, a presence that slips unnoticed into our lives, leaving a trail of unease in its wake. This fear is more tangible, more personal. It's the cold dread that comes with the realization that you're being followed, that your every move is being watched by unseen eyes. It's the fear that your safe spaces aren't so safe anymore. The haunting melody was our next stop, a tune that echoes in our ears, its eerie notes a chilling reminder of the power of sound to evoke fear. This is the fear that creeps in with the strains of an unidentifiable melody, the fear that something as innocent as a song can be a harbinger of doom. And finally, we delved into the mystery of the cursed artifact, an object imbued with a dark power that brings misfortune to its possessor. This is a fear rooted in the belief that certain objects can harbor malevolent forces, that the past can reach out and touch the present in sinister ways. Each story, each fear, is a thread in the tapestry of the unknown. They remind us that fear is not just a reaction to physical danger, but a response to the mysteries that lie beyond our understanding. Remember, in the realm of the unknown you are never truly alone.